Cool.
All right.
Welcome to War of Wit, podcast number 3.
Yeah. This time we decided to do an interview a little bit, just so you could get to know each of us more. I'll be the first one, but then we'll do one for Chris and Alan later.
In the coming weeks, days.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And now you know their names.
Definitely.
I go by Ronald.
Not legally.
But yeah, the reasoning behind this, we just felt like we're all pretty much involved in seemingly different fields, and we thought that we could get some greater perspectives hearing some other experiences and a variety of other topics. So hope to hear some interesting stuff from Joe today.
Let's hope it's interesting.
Let's hope.
So,
yeah, tell us a bit about your background in adventure sports and what you've done, what trips you've done, what you're currently up to.
yeah, what the fuck is adventure sport? I mean, what is adventure
how
sports?
would you define it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's high expedition, high adventure trips in the outdoors. It's like rock climbing, kayaking, mountaineering. It's stuff like that. It's sports that are a little outside of the norm, but it's focused on higher risk things when you're outside.
So as a professional in adventure sports, was something you do like take people out on these tours, or?
Yeah, so I'm a guide or instructor. I do both for adventure sports. So I most recently worked for my college. We would run trips every weekend. So I would lead with a co-instructor. I would lead kayaking trips, whitewater kayaking or sea kayaking, and I would lead rock climbing trips, and I would lead ice climbing trips and mountaineering trips. We did multiple trips every weekend. We have student instructors that sign up to lead those trips, and then it's open to the rest of the student body who wants to go and experience something pretty outside of the norm.
So you're taking inexperienced people and is this their first time, basically?
Yeah, it's inexperienced people. A lot of our trips are built around first time participants. So it might not be their first time outside, though a lot of them haven't gone outside before.
Really? They've never been outside?
Yeah, and they
Wow.
They pick hikes to go on, or they pick kayaking trips or climbing trips. Sometimes we have a little more advanced trips, but most of the time it's just new participants that we bring out, make sure they have a safe and exciting experience outdoors.
All right.
So let's say I'm just an average Joe and I want to go on one of these trips and go, climb the mountains. How would I go about it not linked to a university anymore? How would I be able to do this if it wasn't by myself? Do I have to go find someone like you?
Well, you could find organizations to go with if you wanted to.
You just have to pay some money.
Yeah, and you would have to pay some money. At our college, though, it's pretty inexpensive. It's like $5 to participate in any of the trips that we have, and we outfit you fully in whatever gear you need to go on that trip.
It's a nice deal.
But if you wanted to just do it now, I mean, you could go on a hike by yourself now as long as you let somebody know where you were. If you wanted to do kayaking or rock climbing or ice climbing, you would need a guide service because you don't have any of the gear that's required.
There's plenty of rental locations in the area as well.
There are rental locations that you can go kayaking on the Hudson in this area.
Are any of these like overnight? Or are they all just day trips?
Some of the trips that we led were overnight previously. We didn't do any overnight stuff this year because of COVID. They didn't want people sharing tents in that close proximity.
Of course.
Some of the stuff was overnight, though. Occasionally they did. When we had like 4-day weekends, we would do extended overnight expedition backpacking trips.
Is there ever any funny business on these overnights?
No, the guys have to sleep in tents to themselves.
This isn't the
girls.
Boy Scouts, brother, all right?
Yeah, no, none of that.
So what are some of the places you've gone?
Well, personally, I mean, first of all, I went to high school in the Bronx, Fordham Prep, along with everybody else in this room. And then I was working on my Eagle Scout the whole time throughout that. So I was getting a taste of the outdoors and things that you could do outside. Throughout my grammar, middle school, and high school years. And then after high school, I went to Elon University with Chris and Joe, who's behind the camera. But I only went for one semester, and I didn't really think that it was for me. I didn't enjoy it as much as I probably should have or could have if I had tried a little bit harder to enjoy it. But after that, I dropped out after the first semester that I did there, and I was kind of like not in a great place mentally, I would say. So I was looking for something drastic to do.
I remember you saying you wanted to go on a deep sea fishing vessel.
Yeah, I mean anything crazy.
Deadliest catch.
I would still love to do that, dude.
That
You can make so much money.
Oh yeah, like 200
You're a
grand or something.
badass if
Yeah.
you're out
Yeah.
fishing in the high seas.
sucks.
Or
So,
you
man.
die.
Well, or you die, but whatever.
Or you get
Take out a nice
seriously
insurance
injured.
policy.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
But after I left Elon, after one semester, I was like, I need to do something completely outside of the normal. I knew that I liked being outside because I had had experience with Boy Scouts doing that. So we found this organization, Outward Bound, and I decided to pick a trip from them. My mom suggested doing like a month-long trip, and I was like, no, that sounds weak. I'm an Eagle Scout. Give me the hardest they got.
Yeah.
So I ended up signing up for, these are pictures from our trip. I ended up signing up for a 2.5 month leadership semester program. So throughout that, they would teach us leadership skills and how to be safe in the outdoors. They would teach us a lot of technical stuff. So for that, I got to go to Patagonia in Argentina for about 3.5 weeks. We went to Patagonia we backpacked around it's a rainforest down there. About a week and a half of that we spent on a glacier in Patagonia. It was called Mount Tronador. That was the first picture that was up. Yeah, this stuff right
That
here.
looks pretty crazy.
We were on rope teams.
Remember what elevation that is, or
Yeah, it's around 11,000 feet. So it's not that high, but
okay,
it was enough that there was
still pretty
glaciers
high. You're above the
year
clouds
round.
there.
Yeah, we were above the clouds.
Yeah.
So we were on rope teams just traversing this glacier. We would camp at night. You can see we built snow walls around our tents to protect from the wind. That was pretty exciting. You have to be on a rope team for stuff like that because there are crevasses in the ice that you can just fall down, and somebody actually did fall down one. And thank God we were on a rope team because if somebody falls down one of those crevasses, the rope team's job is to catch them. So you have to use your mountaineering tool to self-arrest on the ice so that you don't get dragged all the way in.
He's got a little pick there.
is
Yeah,
that
we were on
you?
rope teams. You can kind of see
that's
the
him.
you can kind of see the mountaineering tool.
Oh.
Now they know your name.
Yeah, you could see my full name. That's fine. So we got to do that for like 3.5 weeks. And then after that, we flew to Florida and we did around 3 weeks in Florida. We canoed the full length of the Everglades in Florida. So we started from the southern tip and then I think we canoed around 100 miles.
How long did that take?
That's crazy.
It took 3.5. It took 3 weeks.
full length, yeah.
Oh, dude, it was exhausting. Something in Florida was the worst experience I've ever had in my entire life. One day, a few days in Florida. So we were canoeing the entire length, and on an outward bound trip, you have to make certain destinations by a certain point in time so that somebody can drop off supplies for you. But our instructors made a mistake and didn't pack enough fresh water for us. And it's extremely hard to desalinate water. So we couldn't do it on the fly. So we had to use these huge jugs that we were carrying in our canoes full of water. But they didn't have enough for us one time. And so they made the decision to, instead of going through the like labyrinth of little rivers and streams that make up the Everglades, they decided that we would get out of the canoes and pull the canoes, which were each 500 pounds plus with all of our gear and water in them. They decided that we would get out and pulled the canoes through this like huge mud patch with mud up to our chests and stuff.
Jesus.
Because they thought that, I mean, if there's like a river that bends this way, they thought instead of going all the way
Fastest
around,
way is a straight line.
we'll just cut through. And that was terrible. I mean, we had to get out of the canoes for the entire time, and it took 10 of us to pull one canoe 10 feet attached to a rope. We would yank it through the mud. Meanwhile, we're all chest deep in mud in the Florida Everglades where there's tons of snakes and crocodiles.
Yeah,
and
that must have been.
people were getting bit by like leech things that apparently were very painful. I didn't get bit by one,
that's
thank
gnarly,
God.
man.
But it was enough that people were in tears from how much it hurt.
Jesus.
And so they had told us, the instructors, nobody had done this cutoff in like 50 years, but they were like, hey, it'll take us around half a day. We'll get through the cutoff. But we couldn't find a trail the whole time. So we were there for a full day, and by nighttime, we still weren't out of the like crazy swamp that we were in. And one of our instructors broke down crying, and she was like, we're lost. I don't know what to do. And we were
Holy
like,
shit.
I mean, as participants of the
Yeah,
trip,
yeah,
we were
that's-
like, what?
Is this a test?
No, I mean, she was legitimately like freaking out, and we were like, okay, this was only supposed to take a day. We now have to stay here overnight in the swamp.
That's crazy.
And then the next day, we eventually got out after another half day of pulling the canoes through the mud. We eventually got out, but by that point, that whole detour was meant to save time. But we didn't end up saving time. It ended up being worse. So in order to make the next supply drop, we immediately, after getting out of 2 days of pulling our canoes through mud, we had to paddle for 26 hours after that.
Holy
Straight,
shit.
just straight. We had to paddle 26 hours. And
What would you say the moral of the story was there?
don't do an extended trip in the Everglades.
with a,
I was
with a
thinking more
dumbass
like,
who doesn't know how to lead it.
Yeah.
I was thinking more like there are no shortcuts.
Does that
in
person
life.
get fired?
I don't
They could have
think
killed
so.
you.
Well, they could have, but I mean,
That's
you
what you
signed a bunch
signed
of
up for,
waivers.
yeah.
How
that
did
are
she
like,
find her way? Like,
we eventually found it. I mean, it took a lot of it took a lot of trial and error going down different paths looking for what looked like humans had previously traveled on. We had to find paths. That was terrible. But after Florida's the worst. I never want to go back there. But after Florida,
The Everglades, especially.
the Everglades especially.
Gators and
After Florida, we
Swamp.
went to North Carolina, the Blue Ridge Mountains, and we got to backpack for another month or so in the Blue Ridge Mountains. We did that was a nice supply drop that we
rations?
had. We did a lot of like whitewater canoeing in North Carolina.
nice.
A lot of just regular backpacking, some climbing as well. And we actually had a solo portion during this time. So the whole time I was with 10 strangers that I hadn't met before and 2 instructors. But during a portion of North Carolina, we had a solo portion. So they spread each team member out like a mile apart from each other. And then we were alone in the woods with a sleeping bag, a tarp, some water for, I think, 4 nights and 5 days. We were just by ourselves.
Machete? Nothing?
No machete, no weapons,
no matches?
Why?
no matches, no fires were allowed.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, but you can make your own fire, right?
If I had known how to use like
Bark.
a bow,
Yeah.
well,
But okay.
I
So
couldn't really.
what you said you were not allowed to make fires? Like that was not allowed, or you
Well, so
couldn't?
there are different requirements. There are different guidelines based on where you are in the outdoors. So state parks have different rules and guidelines for fires that you can have and how to set them and what time of year they're allowed. So at that point, they weren't allowed. But even if they were, we didn't have matches or lighters or anything. I wouldn't have been able to start a fire probably unless I found specific types of rocks. But no, I wouldn't have been able to.
So what happened in those 4 nights?
Well, so we
Best of your life?
No, the worst probably. So they gave us a ration for the 4 nights and 5 days that was 1 bagel, 1 apple, a small block of cheese, and some nuts. That was supposed to last for 5 days. We were supposed to ration it out.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, but my friend and I were like, we got to test ourselves here. We got to go really hard. So we decided to eat our entire rations. Like, we made an agreement with each other. Obviously, we weren't next to each other, but we were like, yo, when you get to your campsite, eat the entire ration set in the first hour and then have no food for the rest of the 5 days and 4 nights. And we were like, that sounds sick. Let's do it. Let's test.
What?
Let's test what we're capable
Sounds
of.
irresponsible.
Yeah, I mean, it probably would. To anybody that hasn't gone camping before for an extended period of time, I would not recommend eating all of your food immediately. Definitely don't do that. But we did that, and it was terrible. I mean, I the last like 2 days, day and a half, I was just laying in my sleeping bag, pretty much like too weak to move, and I was like, I have to conserve energy here so that I can walk out when it's time to leave. So that I can get back to the base camp. But it wasn't fun,
But
definitely.
would they have sent someone to go get you if you didn't get back to base?
Yeah, if I didn't show up. But I feel like if I had not shown up, it would have been too late by then. Like, if I literally couldn't walk to the place.
And how long can you live just on water?
You can live for like 3 weeks just on water, but it's not like you can be normally active.
Yeah, you can't
without
walk
food.
around and
Right.
jump.
Yeah, I mean, when you don't have food for a few days, your body function starts to shut down, and your mental acuity starts to fog, and you have really low energy for anything.
Right.
So I just laid in my sleeping bag for like 2
And
days.
why do some people believe in the whole starvation, like, keeps you sharp thing? So I know some of our friends are really into that, doing like little segments of little time
that
periods of
16-hour
not eating.
Intermittent fasting?
Yeah.
That's
Well-
totally different.
Well,
Yeah.
different.
Well,
Intermittent
they've
fasting
gotten for
isn't-
days though. There's people who advocate not eating for like a week.
I don't know. That seems crazy.
Yeah, it does.
I definitely wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be able to move. I had a splitting headache for like the entire time because I had no food.
So how did your friend do?
He didn't do that well. Well, neither of us did great, but he was definitely struggling by the end, a little bit more than me, I would say. He was very upset when we came back to the group. He was like, I almost died. Like, obviously he didn't, but he felt like it. But anyways, yeah, I did this Outward Bound trip that was 2.5 months long, which sucks. I mean, humans aren't meant to...
Right.
It sucked in the moment. Like, it was terrible. Never knowing where you're going to sleep or never knowing if you're going to have enough food or water. But at the same time, it was really character building, and it was really a simple lifestyle that I would like to get back to. I mean, I had no other worries besides where I was going to sleep and what food I was going to have and if I would be warm enough at night. I mean, it was pretty nice having to only worry about those things.
Back to the caveman mentality.
Yeah, well, I think people...
Primal instinct.
It's like when life is hard, living is easy, and when living is easy, life is hard.
Interesting. So you would be cool living just like a self-sustainable lifestyle. Like, you have your own farm, you have your own well.
Oh, yeah.
You're self-sustainable.
That's the goal, dude.
You don't have to worry about anything
Yeah.
other than just, you know, self-sustaining.
If I had no other trappings here, like if I didn't have friends or relationships or my parents who would be worried about me, I would definitely love to just go have a cabin by myself. And I think that simplistic lifestyle is probably the peak you can achieve in life of being self-content and just being at peace.
Yes.
But anyways, yeah, I did this long
Still
trip.
gotta pay taxes though.
Well, not if
Unless
they
you're
don't
off
find
grid,
you. Yeah. You got to sneak out there.
You're done.
But I did this trip, and then after that, I worked at kayak touring companies and climbing gyms. And then I went to St. Michael's College in Burlington, Vermont, and started working for our Adventure Sports Center, where we lead these trips. So I did a lot of training to get first aid and wilderness first responder certified so that I could lead people safely. And I did a lot of training in whitewater and a lot of training in climbing and in ice and snow so that I could effectively lead these trips outdoors.
All right.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Well, where do you see yourself, in 5 years with this stuff?
I don't know. I think if I pursued this career, I would like to work for Outward Bound. I think that even though I didn't enjoy it in the moment, I think that I got a lot out of this trip. I think that it was very beneficial for me. I think it would be beneficial for everyone to leave everything behind and be forced to live day to day.
Right. It puts things in perspective in terms of what matters in life. When you're at a point where, you're only worried about where am I getting water? Where am I getting food? Oh, you're not worried about, I don't have the latest iPhone, like all that other crap. So.
Exactly. The only things that matter.
It's a privilege to worry about those things.
Yes.
What time of day it is doesn't matter. Meeting appointments doesn't matter. Your personal surface level relationships don't matter. It's just, I need to eat. I need to sleep. I need to drink water.
Right.
It's really nice, but I think it was very beneficial for me. And obviously you don't go on these kind of trips unless you have stuff going on that you need to kind of get away from and reorient.
Sure.
So I would definitely like to lead these trips for other teenagers, young adults.
Definitely.
Wow.
So that they could have a similar character building experience that I was able to.
Is that usually the consensus with people who go on these trips? Is it's usually they're trying to not even get away from something that's
trying to
plaguing
fix something,
them,
maybe.
From your experience, were the people on your trip all in the similar position?
Yeah. Dude, something is
you don't
wrong
randomly
when you
like, hey, I'm going on Outward Bound for a few months.
Yeah.
Does everybody on the trip know that?
Yeah. We had part of this was that you would have deep conversations pretty much every night with the rest of your group to address whatever issues you have and talk it out with other people, strangers. But nobody decides to go on a 2.5-month backpacking trip unless they're running from something, I would say.
Sure. And
Seems
did you
like
meet some interesting people?
Oh, I bet.
I liked some of them. I liked about half.
Okay.
I didn't like some of them. There was one person who was forced to be there by her parents because she had stolen $15,000 from them, and they were like, we're terrible parents, so we're not going to deal with this. We'll just pawn it off on some organization. And I screamed at her one time. I think it's really the only time I got angry. And Alex, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, but also you lipped up to me when you shouldn't have. So
woof.
What does that mean?
Whoa, you got a confession.
She talked back.
Were you leading or something?
Yeah, I was leading because at the end of the 2.5 months, we had a week-long section where the instructors weren't with us, and there were 2 elected leaders that would plan and then make sure the trip went. The last week of our backpacking went safely. So I was one of those leaders, and she talked back to me.
Dang. Don't be talking back to your man like that.
Yeah, none of that.
Wow. Do you think you were really well prepared even over the others because of your Eagle Scout background?
But it's more of a mentality type of prepared
I think
thing.
It was more of a mentality. I mean, it wasn't particularly hard to set up a tent or walk or kayak, but
so you're used to those aspects.
Yeah, I mean, that's not hard. Anybody could do those things, but the big problem is your mentality. I mean, can you hike 15 miles a day, go to sleep cold with almost no food?
You die, right?
Well, yeah, or you leave. I mean, people can quit.
Oh, okay.
You can quit.
You just get airlifted
out.
Sounds expensive.
So when you were lost on that shortcut, was it if things went south really quick, was there an option to get airlifted?
Well, we would have to use a sat phone to contact an airboat that would come get us. But
what would be the duration to realize, all right, we got to use a stat phone?
Well, dude, that's the thing. I mean, you're probably at a point where there's no recovery when you're all right, we got to get rescued. I mean, I thought about quitting during that. I was like, this is absolutely terrible. I don't want to be here anymore. I didn't end up quitting,
of course. Nice.
Nobody did on my trip, but people do.
It's like Naked and Afraid, that show.
Yeah, you can call the crew to come get you.
Right. But they get upset when they have to turn to those.
Well, yeah.
Like they're either too sick to keep going
Yeah,
or they
yeah.
got an injury or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand. Like you don't actually want to leave.
No. Not on Naked and Afraid. On this one, people definitely would want to leave, and you can voluntarily leave.
Right.
But
But what does that say?
it says you're
You
weak.
probably leave pretty even more broken than you came in.
Yeah,
or even
oh,
more upset
yeah.
about whatever.
Yeah,
Because
if
you
you
couldn't
can't.
complete what you set out to do.
Yeah, if you can't go through with it. I mean, that's kind of what kept me there. I was
So,
like, I can't leave now.
What percentage of candidates that went with you, people that went with you, had that what they were looking for at the end was accomplished, or what they were running from, they figured out a little bit? Like, do you think it helps? Like, what?
I think it definitely helps. It like Chris said earlier, it puts things into perspective. I mean, I didn't come out having talked through any of my personal issues, but I came out thinking about them differently. Perspectives change, and I'm sure that's. I mean, if you spend that long outside, something is going to change in how you view the world and how you experience different things.
Definitely.
So to all those people out there that are in their funk, you advise just get out there?
Oh, yeah. I think this should be required after you leave high school. I think that we should have every single person do something like this.
Wow.
Well, different cultures have these kind of like wilderness tests and things. I know in like Russia they do this with.
Well, in Hong Kong, they have high school seniors have to go on a week-long outward-bound trip.
Yeah. So different. Exactly. They really admire being able to like self-survival because again, it takes away all these societal pressures and gives you a real perspective on just surviving. And if you could take that and apply it to what you, I guess, find enjoyable in life, then that is the key. That's the goal. Take that fervor, that.
It gives you a sense of self-confidence. It gives you a sense of, I can deal with whatever comes. Because certainly after this, I always think now, like, this is not as bad as living outside for 2 months and nearly dying from lack of water and food. I can handle whatever's next.
Definitely. I agree.
And they're giving you food.
It's important.
You don't even have to go hunt it.
No, we don't even have to go hunt
Isn't
it.
that ridiculous? It's crazy how it's nice that you can get that experience without having to actually almost die for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, certainly things were still rough during it, though.
Oh, I don't doubt that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, we didn't have to hunt for food. We had it. We had to carry it all, which kind of sucks.
It's heavy.
Was there any?
Go on, no, please.
I was gonna say, is there any point where you were allowed to hunt, or?
No. Well, I mean, I bought a hand crossbow when I was in Patagonia because when we went to Florida, I'm like terrified of snakes. So I was like, I'm going to bring this hand crossbow and just shoot any snakes that come near me.
Think your aim was that good?
They didn't let me bring it. I killed a scorpion.
Okay.
But they didn't let me bring it on the trip, so I had to leave it in my suitcase. But there were some funny... Dude, there are like raccoons in the Everglades that swim because there's no land there. It's all just like trees and water. So they swim, and at night they would like swim onto our little platform that we set up to sleep on, and they would break into our little personal tents and like steal food. And you would wake up with them at your feet, like huge raccoons, and just kind of kick them out. Pet. I would have loved to.
Raccoons are pretty cool. Raccoons are pretty cool.
Raccoon whisperer.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I mean, after that, I was kind of like, the outdoors is cool. So I'll continue in the adventure sports expedition world. So I've been doing that for a while now.
What are these rope things?
That's like a ropes course that we had to do at the end of the trip. We did it one time during the day, and then one time, this was at the very end of the trip, like the last 4 days or so. It's just like a symbolic thing about the teamwork that you developed or whatever. But so we did it one time during the day, and then one time they woke us up at midnight during a thunderstorm, and they were like, go do the ropes course right now.
What?
And we were like,
holy crap.
Sounds like you got hazed, bro.
Yeah, I was about to say, this sounds like the worst form of hazing.
Dude, they made us run a half marathon. It was like,
what?
On the last day when we were all like, I can't wait to go home. This sucks. And then they were like, they woke us up at like 5 a.m. and they're like, it's half marathon time.
Holy
So we had to run that.
Were you ripped after this?
Dude, yeah, definitely.
I feel like you definitely need to go through something like this, man. It's
Yeah.
definitely beneficial to
yeah.
the psyche. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
How long after the starvation for the 5 days was like? How much time was left on the trip after that?
Probably like 2 weeks, a week and a half, maybe.
How much weight did you lose in those 5 days?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know, but we started eating immediately after we got back. So,
Nice.
You were a new man.
yeah, definitely came out of new man. Dude, I was so delirious during those 5 days. I wrote letters to people
My
while I was just like sitting in my sleeping bag crying because I was like my mind was just like couldn't operate functionally, and I was like in tears writing these letters, and I was like,
obviously you're going through some wild waves of emotions.
Yeah. But
Wow.
it was pretty crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, wow. Holy shit. That's some good stuff
Yeah, but now I just do regular adventure sports.
for now.
And virtually too.
Virtual adventure sports.
Hopefully soon.
What's the future of digital adventure sports?
I have no idea. Maybe I'll record on camera running a whitewater river, and then somebody can just virtually experience that on Earth too.
Yeah. Hey, there you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Wow. All right. I bet you had some crazy dreams when you were out there.
Honestly, I don't remember. I think I was pretty much just like, you're dead tired after every day.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And probably just passed out
I'm sure.
at the end of it.
Damn. Wow.
Yeah, that trip's not for everyone, I would say.
No, it is for everyone.
It could be
I think
for
that's the
everyone,
point. It is
but-
for everyone.
Yeah. I think it would
You just have
benefit
to
everybody.
actually do it.
And everybody can do it, but you
Right.
just have to
Have the
have the
will.
mentality that you should.
Anyone can do it.
Yeah.
What if you're like 400 pounds?
Well, probably not then, but
There's some physical
lose
requirements,
yeah, there were physical requirements, but
to keep up.
you could lose weight during it.
But it doesn't seem like everyone there is like a personal trainer and
No,
super.
no.
You
shoot
said
like jacked.
they're pretty like freshmen college or high school after. They're pretty young. Who was the oldest one on that trip?
I was the youngest. I was 18. Everybody else was, I think, at least 21. And then there was a 28-year-old. Everybody was between 21 and 28 besides me.
Okay, not bad.
Yeah.
And you were still the leader.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I still was at the end.
Nice.
Yeah, I was pretty proud of that.
All right. And you still keep in contact with these fellows?
No, not anymore. One of them I went backpacking in Iceland with for a couple weeks.
Yes.
A couple years after this trip, but I don't really talk to them anymore. No. We all kind of drifted apart.
I feel.
Yeah.
Wow. How long are we at?
Like 35.
Yeah.
Any other random
more.
adventure sports questions?
I mean, I'm always curious about like, animals and stuff. like getting scared shitless by an animal out there. Like,
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
freaky.
well, we ran into quite a few like crocodiles in the Everglades
and
and
they,
stuff.
they're like,
crazy.
no, you can't have a machete. You can't have a
Yeah,
knife.
they didn't want us
Would you
bringing
have to
weapons.
kick them away?
I
if
mean,
they
yeah,
came
if
at you?
you're
Well, we had to. I don't know if this is going to get anybody in trouble, but like we had to, because it's definitely not protocol to do this, but we had to, like occasionally there would be crocodiles in the path in Florida when we were walking and pulling the canoes. So some of us would take turns, like taunting the crocodiles. Like you would go in front of the team because there was one in your path. So you would go on the other side of it around and you would taunt it so that it would start chasing you, and you would like run away from the path so that it would follow you out of the path that the rest of the team had to go through.
Wow.
That was kind of scary.
doesn't sound like
I mean,
protocol.
yeah, that's fucking
No, I
nuts.
don't. Yeah, it wasn't fun,
Nah,
but
that shit is scary. as
had to
fuck.
do it.
Damn.
So
Do you feel safe being on American soil?
being back,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it puts things into
that
perspective,
comforting?
though, because now all of the training that I've done since then, it makes me definitely think that the instructors that I had on my trip were not even close to qualified enough to be doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you get injured and you're 100 miles from any kind of civilization, like,
Right.
you're pretty much done.
Yeah.
You're pretty much done. So thank God nobody got seriously hurt.
Yeah, we got some good health care in America.
Definitely.
Good access.
Yeah. Well, it would still cost a lot here, but
Well,
Oh, yeah.
we'd be better off getting hurt here.
Depends.
You get airlifted.
Depends on
Get
a
what
few
you pay
things.
for.
Yeah, get
what
what
you pay for.
Better than Canada.
I guess.
Where do you think your next trip would be?
AT again? Appalachian Trail?
I might do the Appalachian Trail. That would be fun. I've been thinking about that after I graduate, but that's like a 6-month commitment, and I don't know if I would be mentally stable enough to do that solo.
Yeah, that's a big.
That would be hard.
Section.
Being
what is
alone
it,
would suck for
section
6
hiking.
months.
Section hiking.
No, I would like to do the whole thing. Section hiking is for wimps.
Whoa.
Okay.
I would do the whole thing, but I would like to find people to do it with. I don't think I'd want to do it alone. That'd be a little hard. I went camping alone up in Vermont in December, right? Is that when I talked about it?
I don't remember.
Maybe early January, but there was
Oh,
like
yeah, it
3
was-
feet of snow on the ground, and I decided to go camping by myself. And I went out. I got there when the sun was setting, and I had to hike in a blizzard alone
God.
for a few miles and set up my tent in the snow. And then I was sitting there like freezing, and every noise I heard, I was like, that's a bear. I'm going to die. They're coming down for food. They got a little hungry during hibernation. I'm the only thing out here.
You're done.
Is
Yeah.
that a thing that they actually do, or are you just being paranoid?
Well, I was just being paranoid, but also they do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that shit.
But
I feel
don't
like you
fuck
can
with
like
bears.
go into like a state of psychosis in those situations, like completely fucked up. Like just like you think everything's gonna kill you. Like you could like freak out and have a panic attack out there.
I was freaking out a little bit. I mean, I didn't have a panic attack or anything, but I was like,
Like I've seen kids have panic attacks like in a house.
yeah. No,
Over,
dude,
like-
if you're alone and it's pitch black outside
Over,
and
like, nothing.
snowing
You can't
and
see
there's
anything.
only woods around you and you hear noises like stamping in the snow,
Bro, yeah, anything could be
Yeah.
running up on you.
I was like,
that's
damn, I'm going to
freaky.
die.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, that's where your like primate brain would take it over. I
Yeah.
assume.
I'll take it.
You
I
would
was
think
sleeping with
so.
an axe next to me.
bro, even
Well,
like
yeah.
wolves,
Well, it'd
coyotes,
be, like, fight, fright, or
like,
flight.
anything could
Yeah.
be running up on you.
Wouldn't
yeah.
be great.
Definitely. But
But,
yeah, Appalachian Trail is quite a commitment to the whole thing.
Yeah, I think if I were to do another adventure sport like expedition thing, I've been thinking about going to Norway to do a sea kayaking trip around the coast. Apparently, they're very friendly to kayakers there. But it would be cold. I mean, I've kayaked in the snow before. Like I did a whitewater training session last December in Vermont, and it was snowing outside.
Jeez.
And we got to the river at like 5 a.m. and I was freezing cold.
Yeah.
And we had to get in the water in our boats, and it was snowing, and we had to go down rapids where you can fall in, and if you land in freezing water, it's going to be
that's
tough.
brutal.
So you do an assortment of sports. Is water sports your favorite?
Yeah. I mean, I do the kayaking things. I do canoeing. I do ice climbing, regular rock climbing, and mountaineering. But I'm not a huge fan of heights. So I don't particularly like doing rock climbing and ice climbing, and even more so recently because over the summer I fell out of a tree that I was climbing and broke my leg.
Right.
So I've had
We'll have the footage.
yeah, we could put it
Yeah,
in.
the video will be up there.
But I've enjoyed heights even less since then. So I don't really want to do that as much anymore. I mean, dude, if you're particularly ice climbing, you have to put in an ice screw into the ice. So you screw in a piece of metal into ice that may or may not be safe to put a screw in. You just hope that you can tell by looking at it. And then you have to clip your rope into that screw that you placed. And then if you fall, you just hope that the screw catches it. And if it doesn't, you die. Like you just fall off. And the whole time you have these sharp axes in your hands and spikes on your feet that you're trying to climb up the ice with. It sucks.
Yeah, it does sound like it sucks.
Yeah, I'm not
Especially
a
if
fan.
you're not going anywhere. There's not like a treasure at the top of the mountain.
No, it's just you're
Treasure
just
is in
going
your
up
mind.
and down. Yeah, treasure is the friends you made along the way.
It's
Wow.
the journey, not the
That's
destination.
intense, man.
But yeah, I would definitely focus more on paddle sports now. I would say
Nice.
Sports
little
are
bit
quite
safer.
fun. Yeah.
Still quite deadly.
still quite deadly. I mean, I've had some pretty negative experiences with it where I've had to like actually rescue people who have fallen in and get like pinned a little bit. You have to throw rope bags to them and hope that they catch it while they're like in the middle of getting circulated by a rapid
That's
and
tough.
pull them out. It sucks. And I mean, I've had bad experiences where I've flipped and hit my head underwater on rocks and stuff. I wear a helmet, thank God. But
You could
There's
smash your face on a rock, though.
yeah, yeah, you
Yeah,
easily
nah,
could.
You could fuck some shit.
So it's not the most safe thing, but
Wow.
I feel more comfortable in water than up. Because if
Yes.
climbing, if you're up 100 feet in the air, it's not up to you whether or not you get hurt.
Right.
Your rope could just break and then you fall and that's it. Nothing you could have done about it. But in kayaking, I'm more in control. I can
course.
roll the kayak so that I get out of the water. I can maneuver it around. It's not just like something if a hole gets poked in the boat, I'll just swim out because I have a life jacket on.
Right.
But not the same with climbing. You just fall.
Yeah, that's definitely less
I don't
risk
know.
factors.
Ocean scares the shit out of me.
Well, oceans are tough. I go to the coast of Maine occasionally to see kayak, and it gets pretty gnarly out there.
Have a skirt on.
Yeah, you have a spray skirt on so that water doesn't come in the cockpit of your boat. But when we go up to Maine, we try surfing, kayak surfing in the rocks.
What?
So these waves come and they get bigger and bigger as they get closer to shore and start going in between rocks. And you're supposed to get your kayak on the top of a swell and kind of ride it out. And then you have to avert course real quick so you don't get smashed against the cliffside that you're coming up against. So that's not great either, but
Yeah.
That's intense.
yeah.
Sounds like good stuff.
What would you suggest for people trying to get into this just as the base level?
Find a local guiding company near you, somebody who's accredited and knows what they're doing. You could find plenty of guides that are willing to take you on easy stuff that's not too dangerous. Don't jump in like immediately to class 3 rapids on a kayak. Definitely don't do that. Start low.
Definitely.
Get experience with being outside, and then you can build from there, I would say.
Definitely.
Build from there.
Yeah.
All right.
If you want to
All right.
continue.
I'm happy with that. Thanks for sharing your thoughts
definitely.
and your experiences.
Sounds like some crazy experiences.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was fun. You know.
Yeah, I know we'll learn a lot more about you as we continue. So
Yeah.
Definitely.
And we'll do you guys
Oh yeah,
interviews
we're coming
next.
up
Do
as
me.
well.
Okay. Enough of that.